Hey everybody, Chris Anderson here again for another episode of Coach Chran's Corner for Cardhoarder. Today I am here with Tim Morrison. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm doing well, Chris.
Cool. So we got a deck that you've actually been working on for about a month or so now, and it's really cool. It's a modern deck, and it's kind of a dredge deck, but it's not anything like normal dredge. It's more of a control deck. And it has basically you're doing a lot of stuff with light from the loam.
That's correct. It also so what we consider it as more of a mid-range control deck than anything.
Okay.
Me and a guy by the name of Phil England, he lives here in Indianapolis with me, near me. We've been working this for a little while. We utilize Life from Loam and Squee Goblin and Bob
Yeah.
as a basically a raw card advantage generator.
Hmm.
And what we do is we have a lot of spells that utilize those, such as like Collective Brutality, which discarding multiple squeeze and to take out cards out of people's hands,
Right.
killing their creatures, gaining life off that, especially in like the burn matchup, things like that, where you basically can 3-for-1 them, and that
Hmm.
almost puts them, it basically puts you into the win column right there by them losing basically 9 points of damage.
For sure. Yeah.
Um,
There's like a ton of cards in this deck that basically cause you to discard cards. But since you have the Engine of Squee, which basically gives you an extra card for free every single turn, and Life on the Loam, which essentially is an ancestral recall with Dredge, if you can build your deck around it correctly, you're just like leveraging those cards in a lot of different ways to gain advantages.
Absolutely. One of the other great things about the deck too, by utilizing Squee and Life from the Loam, we can actually, with Faithless Looting and Cathartic Reunion, we're
Hmm.
basically it is an ancestral recall.
Right, yeah, you're actually turning them into
Yeah.
literal guard draw spells.
Um, Now we some of the ways we convert in the some of the better ways to actually be able to have win cons is through Zombie Infestation and Call the Bloodline.
Okay, yeah,
Call,
turn them into creature tokens, basically.
yes, and we actually added Call the Bloodline because of the burn matchup in general. You land this on turn 2 in game 1, and you have a Squee in hand. It's almost unwinnable
Yeah,
for the
that
burn
makes
deck.
sense.
Turn game 2 and game 3 a little bit rougher because they have the red green and destroy target artifact or enchantment spell that
Okay.
that deals 2, but it's a little bit better. We also utilize Smallpox very, very well too.
Yeah, because you have to sacrifice a land, that's fine. You could just loam it back.
Exactly.
Discard a land, loam it back. You don't have very many creatures that you really care about, so you're not really losing a creature out of it, and just get to mow down all of your opponent's resources.
Exactly. And one of the other things we can do with Eternal Witness, we also have a land that you don't see a lot of in basically play period in Mortuary Mire.
Okay.
So Mortuary Mire, when it does come to battlefield tap, but putting a creature from your graveyard on top of your library, basically what you can do is you can block with Eternal Witness, put it in the graveyard, play a Mortuary Mire, put the Eternal Witness back on top of your library,
Okay.
get back Smallpox once you play it,
Oh
recast
yeah, because you can
Smallpox,
sacrifice the mortuary mire.
Mire and you can
The witness and just
low Mortuary Mire back and just keep on milling it.
cool.
Um,
All
one
right,
of the other
that kind of makes sense as to why you have the Shriek Ball in your deck too, then, because you
Yes.
can like rebuy
Yes.
your Shriek Ball with Mortuary Mire.
Exactly. Now, one of the things that this deck had a little bit of trouble with at the beginning, why we actually added Shriekmaw into it, was due to Eldrazi. Shriekmaw actually kills Eldrazi because they
Hmm.
are non-artifact, non-land. So
Cool, and yeah, it looks like these Vengeful Pharaohs, I imagine, are really good against Eldrazi as well.
exactly. They also, because and with the dredge mechanics that we have, they basically constantly go back into the graveyard.
Hmm.
We have the Suicide Zuzak. I know it's kind of been fading out just with dredge being so popular on Moda right now. Vengeful Pharaoh puts a stone cold stop to Suicide Zoo. They
Sure.
cannot use their what is the red one?
Teamer Battle
So no,
Rage.
yeah, they can't battle rage because they battle rage. You take the first hit of it, but
Oh
you
yeah, then you just kill it because as soon as
kill
it does damage,
kill them.
yep, Double Strike doesn't
Done.
work. That's pretty
Yep.
neat.
So with a Smallpox, whatever that. Ghost Quarters, of course, for the Tron matchups.
Okay.
Um, and then basically the rest of the deck is just there to and Molten Vortex is just another discard outlet for Life from the Loam.
Yeah, you just try to run decks out of resources basically, and
Exactly.
eventually just grind them out with all of your creature tokens or damage with Faithless or with Molten Vortex doing the Assault Loam thing.
Yep.
Even just getting your Vengeful Pharaoh back eventually. Like if they're out of resources, then you just get back your Pharaoh and cast it, and you've got a 5/4 creature that you can attack with a bunch.
And
You know,
eight face.
it's not pretty by any means, but it gets the job done. If they don't have anything, it doesn't really matter what you're attacking with. Or
It's really good against.
Brown Skill. That's another one. That's an interesting card. I imagine that that's also somewhat of a concession to the burn matchup.
That's correct. It's hyper aggro in general.
Okay.
Just being able to gain 2 life a turn, essentially, just either through discarding them to zombie infestations or whatnot. Having both Golgari Brown Scales and Dark Blast are also in there to be able to help dredge into Life from the Loam if we don't have it in our opener.
Sure, that makes sense.
So
Yeah,
it just helps speed the process up, and then with the life gain, it just gives us, it buys us more time. I mean, we really,
which is basically what you need. You need
5.
time.
Yeah.
Eventually, you can get the point. You can get the game to a point where you're getting like 3 cards per turn on your opponent, but you have to get to that point first. And
Yes.
Brown Scale seems like it does a good job of helping you get there.
Yes, it does.
All right. So let's see. Anything else in here that we didn't go over? I think that's everything for the main.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and move on to the sideboard.
Sure. So what we found out through playtesting is that we have a little bit of a Tron problem.
Okay.
Just because if we're not on the play, just with Ghost Quarter constantly, they've been upping their basic count, so it's really hard to get ahead.
Yeah.
So what we actually did, Surgical Extraction actually goes in for that matchup. Ghost Courting, Surgical Extraction, hit one of their
Tron piece and then take them all out, and then they can never get Tron.
It's done.
Cool.
Exactly. It's also there for for any of the combo matchups too. It hits Dredge.
Yeah, Surgical is reasonable against Dredge.
Yeah. So, Ancient Grudge also just for any problem cards. Yeah. The one thing which you're going to see and what you're going to see, we can actually run Grafdigger's Cage out of the board.
Okay.
And that's actually going to confuse a lot of players who haven't played against the deck before, because Grafdigger's Cage doesn't affect us. Period. There's not a single card in the main deck that it affects.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty neat.
And they'll actually bring in Cage against us and basically lose a card for it.
Nice. Let's see. We got a couple of Raven's Crimes in here. Retrace is another really powerful effect that we can basically leverage with Light from the Loam.
Exactly.
Turn all of our lands into 1-for-1 discard spells. I guess with the Grafdigger's Cage, though, we can't cast Raven's Crime.
They're different. I mean, the only matchup that they go in similarly.
Separate matchups, yeah. So they're never in at the same time.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean, you can do it for. I guess Storm can go. They can go in both in, but like if you have to hit Raven's Crime out of the gun, you need to do it fast anyway before you can even lay down a Cage.
Right. Okay. So yeah, we got a couple more brown scales for burn, I assume. Another aggressive decks. We just want 4 of those, which is interesting because like you wouldn't think of brown scale being a super powerful card, and if you don't really understand why the cards in the deck. It definitely looks weird, but it's effective enough that in some matchups we just want it all the time. It seems
exactly.
We've got 4 copies. Let's see, and then rounding out the board, we got a couple more Nature's Claims. Nature's Claim seems really good against. It's good artifact hate for affinity or whatever. It's also really good against Rest in Peace or Leyline of the Void.
Exactly.
Dredge uses a lot of them in order to protect itself from graveyard hate, and this deck can utilize it in a similar fashion. And then we got Engineered Explosives, which is also similar. Kills graveyard hate spells. It's good against tokens, good against lots of things.
Yep.
Engineered Explosives is just one of the most flexible cards in Modern, I think. So
that's why I jumped up to $50.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and run this through a league and see if it's got what it takes to take on Modern. One of the things I'm a little concerned about right now is that due to the prevalence of Dredge in the metagame, I think a lot of people are packing Graveyard Hate. So some of the Graveyard Hate cards, like we were saying, Grafdigger's Cage doesn't affect us at all. Anger of the Gods, I imagine, also isn't all that good against this deck.
Not at all.
But there are other Graveyard Hate cards, most notably, I would imagine, Rest in Peace, which is somewhat of a nightmare for the deck. Because of how slow the deck takes to actually win the game. You give your opponent lots of time to draw into it, and if they can knock out your entire graveyard, that could be a problem.
It comes with the territory when you're playing a graveyard deck.
Absolutely. So hopefully we won't see too many of that, and we'll see a bunch more Anger of the Gods instead. I know the deck that just won the Grand Prix most recently is just playing a bunch of Anger of the Gods. I guess they're also running Relic Progenitus, though, which is probably also kind of a tough one. But,
Relic is a little bit tough, yes.
Yeah, I think that this shell seems really powerful as a control option in Modern. So looking forward to giving this a try.
Let's do it.